Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Exams and Guidance. I'm here today with David Drury, who's a career guidance counselor in the Dublin area.
And thank you, Martina McGrath Daly, who's medical doctor and CEO and founder of 65 Points. Great to see you today.
Likewise, and today we're going to be talking about repeating the Leaving Cert. We'll dive
Yeah.
straight into it. David, what should you consider before repeating the Leaving Cert?
It is a big decision. It can be a decision that can pay off very well, obviously. Um, you do need to go back through that year again. It's a big commitment. So I definitely suggest having a goal, and in terms of your points and what you would like to achieve or need to achieve for your dream course. And I suggest writing that down because people who write down their goals are more likely to achieve them. The other thing is I would strongly encourage students to pinpoint exactly what I suppose, not what went wrong, but what you need to change from the last time round. So this might include your study methods, it might include support structures, it might include routine, it could involve maybe you were working part-time, it might include your commitment, for example, that needs to be addressed. And also the possibility of momentum and can you endure the year ahead? So there are just some points to consider. Students should also like weigh up the cost of repeating over taking it. Like they could choose to take a PLC, which is a fantastic route into not a guaranteed one, but a possible route into their course. So to research that, PLCs are still open. They're not all closed yet, but many of them would have filled up by now, but it may not be too late. Also, I would advise students to research where they will repeat because there are many dedicated repeat schools out there with small class sizes. So to research them and see what their success rate is like. Um, Also, to keep in mind that there will be a change in English texts. There will be a change in geography, field investigation, economics projects, ag science projects, just a few. So there will be changes in the curriculum. So just be mindful of that so that it won't all be the same as the previous year. Um, so that would be my advice and my suggestions and points of research before making the decision to repeat.
100%. I think that's great advice, David. And what
Thank you.
pitfalls should you specifically watch out for in this context?
I suppose the financial costs of if you decide to repeat in, a school that you may need to pay fees for, you may need to get drawings in subjects. There may be higher commuting costs because the repeat school may not be in your local area. That's also a time consideration too. And also you will be introducing yourself into a new peer group, and it can be quite most likely a small group of people, and for some that can be quite a challenge. So to be mindful of that, and also your friends are moving on. They are moving into college. They're progressing through their first year. So you have to be okay with that because if it catches you later, it may lead to you losing momentum. But as I said, the repeating can also be very rewarding. It can lead to an increase in points, and if it's entry requirement, you may not have an option.
Yeah, that they're all very important things to think about, of course, yes, before making that big decision.
Yeah, it is. They're important reflections, and just to, I suppose, take time to consider everything without leaping in, and particularly the alternative options and route aids as well are definitely worth looking at. And talking to your guidance counselor, is highly recommended before making that decision. I was just wondering, Martina, um, before students like decide to make this decision to repeat, what advice would you give them on choosing their subjects?
You begin with the end in mind. You need to think very particularly about the course for which you are repeating. So make sure that you fill the subject requirements. You're trying to optimize for points. A lot of people would choose their best subjects, and if you didn't like the subject or you didn't do well in it, you have to think about why that was. Was there a deficit in the teaching? Was it that you didn't like the subject, as I said? was it some other reason? So if those can be corrected, you need to ask yourself what's going to be different this time. So some subjects might need to go, and they can be replaced with some subjects that are potentially new ones for you.
Okay, and would you suggest that students take on new subjects or try new subjects
So it
when
depends on, yeah, on the context. So let's say it turns out that there was some subject that really didn't agree with you, but you also happen to have an interest in another subject. Subjects like agricultural science and economics are often cited as subjects that you can do in 1 year. Now, it gets a little bit more complicated now because you have um, the project or the research
Mhm.
element. So that has to be thought about. But in theory, yes, there are some subjects that can be done within 1 year.
Great, good to know. And in terms of study tips and study strategies, would you have any recommendations for students repeating?
I think again, the advice would be the same that you begin with the end in mind. The seal on the Leaving Cert has been broken. You have been through the process, so you should go straight to marking schemes, exam papers, keep it very practical. Because you've been through it, you're not going to be put off and intimidated by any means
Yeah.
by doing papers. So yeah, keep it very exam focused. That's the first tip. Second tip is do things a little bit differently this time. So whatever went wrong, the previous time, if we can call it wrong, may not have some anything to do with anything you did, but let's just say for argument's sake, there
Yeah.
is something you can change. Try and change that. Was it that you didn't do enough papers, or maybe you concentrated too much on papers and assumed that questions would repeat and didn't quite go through the due diligence and go through the notes and different bits? So absolutely change up your study rhythm and just always keep your eyes on the prize because it is going to be a super focused year, I think, for anybody who is going through that financial
Yeah.
time and emotional burden, I guess, of
Mhm.
repeating.
Absolutely. And it is about keeping your eye on the prize and the end goal because that's what will see you through. And thank you, Martina, for that excellent
Thanks,
advice
David.
there.
Lovely. Thank you.